All right, we're back and we have to chat about other international competition during this April window. Everyone is getting their final runs out during this extended window of time from April 3rd to April the 11th. Let's chat a little bit about some of the national teams who are going head to head. Lots of programs making sure that they get in these final preparations before that final roster is named and before the World Cup comes around. Let's start with France and Canada. These are two teams who are going to go head to head during this window. And we've been talking a lot about these two teams in terms of episodes that we've done prior, like our news and notes segments, because France finally named a new head coach in Herrera and has already kind of started to mend some bridges there. If you missed our latest news and notes episode, we chatted all about how there are some usual suspects and familiar faces kind of back in the mix for this recent national team camp for France. And we had some concerns because we were like, well, there is a friendly that is scheduled between France and Canada. And both of these federations are in some ongoing disputes, right? So it
Mhm.
was an issue with manager for France. Canada, unfortunately, is still in their ongoing dispute with their federation over a number of things. Back pay and pay equity is one of them. But Canada, our CONCACAF siblings, they had this scheduled for a one-off. So while you have the opportunity as a national team to possibly have the two friendlies over the course of this week, they wanted to make sure that they had the experience. So Beth Priestman speaking a little bit during the She Believes Cup about how they wanted to make sure that they had a trip like this for player experience ahead of the World Cup, team bonding experiences, getting travel under on their bodies really and how they recover from that. But with all of the ongoing disputes, that we were like, Is this up in the air? Are we going to get an update on this?" But thankfully, it's arrived. There's a new manager. Players are, still together for Canada. They are still going to continue their play in protest. They said that's going to remain as they continue their fight with the Canada soccer. So I'm very curious about how these two teams are going to look against each other, all things
Yeah.
considered off of the pitch, right? So
Yep.
I'm sure we might see some interesting highlights there.
A
Mexico.
and I think it's a bit of a benefit almost for either
Yeah, I
side.
was gonna say for who?
Yeah, for honestly, for either side, maybe a little bit more so for France coming into this one because of the way that, like, the window is broken down. They didn't have to travel. This friendly against Canada is happening on home soil for them, so they don't have to travel internationally. They've got this new coach. They've got all their players back in, Wendy Renard. They've got, Eugenie Le Sommer back in. Like, they've got a lot of the pieces. It's honestly a little similar to, like, the US in the sense of like bringing back in a Kruger and Ertz, et cetera. So with France having a lot of play and a lot of training to do, and then to go up against Canada is really good competition. I mean, and for Canada to only play this one friendly against France, like, allows them a lot of cohesiveness in training, which sometimes is what you need when you're trying to mix things up before you get out there and play a game. But that's not it. There's a lot else happening. We've talked about it before. Mexico, they are not, sadly, Sandra, not going to the World Cup. They missed out this year, but that doesn't mean they're not in on the action. They've started a new partnership with NWSL clubs to continue the competition. So we'll get to see Mexico play against Houston Dash and the Chicago Red Stars. I know you were very excited about that. I mean, as
Oh,
am
yeah.
I, but it's so exciting, really.
I think a cool opportunity for all the teams involved, really. Important for Mexico to remain like vigilant
Yeah.
and active during this time. They're not going to the World Cup. This is the second consecutive time that they've failed to advance to a World Cup. They haven't made an appearance since 2015 in Canada's World Cup, and I like that they are providing this for the players moving forward. They're referring to it as the Mex Tour W. We have seen a Mexico national team tour similar for the men's team. They're constantly playing matches across the United States to packed stadiums in American cities, and I love that they're trying to start something like this for the women's senior program as well. So I think it's a good start to get out against NWSL clubs specifically, and I think it's a unique experience for players on those NWSL
Mhm.
teams as well. And I know we're going to keep our eyes on maybe some of the crossover, right? We've got a Houston Dash, Diana Ordonez and Maria Sanchez, for Mexico, and they're going to go up against their club team. So exciting, a little exciting tidbits there.
I'm excited about that. I'm so
Yeah, me
jazzed
me
about that.
too. We've also got Brazil on the move. They're gonna have games against England and Germany, Australia, the World Cup co-hosts, with matches against Scotland and England, Japan against Portugal and Denmark. We had to shout out Haiti as well because they are also going to the World Cup. Our CONCACAF siblings can have games against Nigeria and Moldova. Any of these types of matches that are really intriguing to you that you want to keep an eye on?
Yeah, I mean, I think Japan, Portugal, Denmark, that's one that I'm pretty high on and continuously looking at. Japan is a team that um I think we can see cause some ripple effect during the World Cup. I mean, we saw what they did during the She Believes Cup. They come out and they've got a really strong presence on the pitch. So how do they compare against a Danish side, right? How is that going to look? The technicals versus what Denmark can bring. I mean, they're a bit more physical in what they'll bring to Japan. So those are matches I'm excited about. And I want to see England. I really want to see how England plays against Brazil. That's a matchup that I'm really keyed in on to see. And then against Australia, right? Like these are, it's almost like precursor. I mean, it is precursor for the World Cup. So kind of how these teams are coming together, what they're dialing in on, what their tendencies become. Because if we've seen something over this last several months from one of these nations and we continue to see it, especially throughout this international window, it's going to be the consistent moving forward. And it's what we can expect during the World Cup when they play and they're competing in their group stages.
No, I'm with you. I think England and Brazil is going to be an interesting matchup. I'm also interested
Mhm.
because I don't, Brazil is not 100%. I
I
think
know.
going into this match, we saw coming out of the first 2 weeks of NWSL, Dabinia with a little bit of a knock, came off the bench for Kansas City Current just last weekend. Martha has been ruled out completely. I believe it's with a muscular bruise
Mhm.
or strain, something of that sort. So not exactly going in up against the European champions at maybe your fittest form. But I think it's going to be an important test, an important match for Brazil to face off against the
Mhm.
Euro champions, and equally as important for England because they're going to want to get a look at teams with different tactical formations and styles ahead of the World Cup as well. So definitely keeping an eye on Brazil and England, Australia as well. I want to see what they're bringing to England, and how that is going to work out. Sam Kerr loves scoring goals out
Oh,
there in
yeah.
England, so we'll see. And I definitely am excited for Haiti and Nigeria.
I mean,
Eager,
there's a lot. Yeah, if anyone is looking for matches to watch, outside of the USA ones, against Ireland, that'll happen on
oh
Saturday
yeah,
the 8th and then
there's a lot of
Tuesday
good
the
ones.
11th. Yeah, there's plenty to
Yeah,
watch. Go check out the schedule because they're not all playing on Saturday, Tuesday. I mean, a lot of them are, but there are some that play tomorrow. There's
yeah.
some that play Sunday and Monday. So make sure you check them out because there's plenty of really good action. It's going to be competitive. It's going to be fun, and get to know some of those players on those national teams because their names will be coming up more and more as we get closer to July in the World Cup.
100%. And of course, we're going to be here for you in terms of recaps and reactions to the United States versus Ireland when they go head to head. Of course, we have to close out the episode with a prediction. Lisa, what do you think is going to come out of this game one against Ireland?
Game one, USA, Ireland. I'm gonna go 3-0
Okay.
USA.
All right. I'm going to go 4-0
I like
USA.
it. I like it. This is just game 1, right? We're not okay, good.
You want to do game 2 as well?
No, not yet. We'll do
Let's
that
do
on
game 1. All
Monday.
right. Game 1 against Ireland, we got 3-0. We got 4-0. Either way, we both got a shutout. So we'll see if we're correct in our prediction. Make sure you join us when we do the recap and see if we were correct, because that's all we've got for today. So thank you all so much for listening.